okay, now that we have a schedule with our scope, which is like the mind mapping with the low level structure, now it's time to apply some cost estimate to this whole thing. Obviously, we had set a budget, which was probably made some high-level estimate. You know, your experienced team, they have done that in the past. Chances are there will be analogous estimate comparing typical project they've done in the past, and they will come up with the budget view. It's not going to be like a roll-up of all the deliverable, because when they did the concept, they didn't have all the deliverable at that stage. So asking them to do a full-blown roll-up of costs, that's not going to happen. So it will be analogous, basically comparing past projects, same size, same parameters, same kind of deliverables, and coming up with an estimate and say, okay, this one will fit within the envelope of 30 million, X million will go on lighting, X million will go on video, X million will go on performance training, X million will go on casting, X million will go on logistic, and they will break it down to a high level. So that's the level you have to start with. Now you need to apply it to your different package that you have worked with, you know, when you did the breakdown, and try to connect that with the people that are doing the work. You're already probably having your schedule, and now you could assign people. These people, they cost money, so they bring $1 per hour. So right away, poof, your cost is going to start building up for every one of these activities you're doing. And all these activities, when you're going to roll them up, going to come to a cost, which could be a labor cost, but then also in certain of these work package, you will assign a material cost, or you might be assigning other consulting costs that goes with it, expense that might go with it. So at the end of the day, you will have a full roll-up of the budget based on what you have exploded so far. And then with this, you could compare with the budget you had estimate. Again, you might be off quite a bit because, again, people have a little bit put some buffer in terms of time, and putting some buffer in terms of time. If the guy put 2 weeks because he's not sure how long it's going to take, and in fact it takes 4 days, well, you have 2 weeks of cost instead of 4 days of cost, so you might have a little bit more. So then you're going to have to go down in every one of these things to say, okay, is it really an estimate, you know, that is, you know, accurate, I mean, in terms versus the time, or you're giving you an elapsed time, and therefore there's more into it, and we cannot associate the number of hours with the actual dollar figure you're costing, because you're probably going to take less. So this is going to have to play into your overall estimate for your budget. But that is one part, which is getting the budget for your production in place that is in line with your schedule, that is in line with your WBS or mind mapping. So that once you have it done, okay, the key things will be, how do I track my budget? And of course, there's different tools for that. My goal here is not to show you how to track budget and things like that, because that, again, yeah, and same as scheduling, you have many courses on that, one project management course, you know, schedule management, etc. So that, you know, you could follow that separately and link some resource that you could use to help you with this. The point is now that once you have that, there's another cost that you need to also track. Remember when we did the business plan or the business case, we talk about the one-time cost and versus the recurring cost. Now we need to understand the budget we're working on the production fits with the one-time cost of the business case. What will be my recurring cost of that production that I will do when it gets delivered? Okay. Now you start to build a model, right? If it's a show, for example, I need to understand, based on what we know today and based on what we know with this concept, how much it's going to cost to run the show when it's delivered. So I need a model also, and a cost model for that. And now I'm getting into the notion of life cycle costing. Very important, because we're looking at the cost during the life cycle. And it's very important to understand that, because, you know, even though, you know, we might think the project is just costing the budget, no, it's still going to cost all along. And even revenue is going to come in, needs to recover these recurring costs before we start having profitability. Not only that, if I decide to stop it somewhere down the line, okay, because, for example, I'm not meeting my number, or we're not, you know, reaching the target market we were supposed to, whatever, there's a business decision down the line, we need to stop. Okay, there's a cost to stop. Okay, there might be royalty that we need to pay to the designer, because we're terminate the agreement. There might be a cost also to terminate the agreement because we have contracts signed with a lot of people. We have contract signed with cast and crews and people. So terminating them, it's not going to happen like, okay, bye-bye. You're going to have to pay them some severance package and the whole bit. There's a cost also for terminating. There might be a cost also for getting rid of certain equipment or getting rid of the theater itself, So we need also to put that in the life cycle cost. So we understand the full equation from a cost perspective, and when we make business decision versus the business plan, we understand the whole picture, not just a portion of it and using that to make some calculation, which I see quite a bit, right? People say, how much it costs to do this show? It costs $10 million. They say, okay, $10 million, we're going to be making X amount of money over the year, so we got a return of this. Not really, because over these years that you're talking, it's going to cost you an operation. After 5 years, you're going to shut it down. When you're going to shut it down, that's going to cost you this. So you need to put all of this in your calculation. So that's the overall picture that we need to do on the cost side. Of course, just on this, we could have a full course training, and I'm sure there is, online everywhere, course on cost management. I suggest that if you're not familiar with cost management, you need to get familiar with it because it's going to be important. Another topic that is less and less discussed, and I very difficult to find material on this one, cash management. This business of entertainment is cash driven. People run out of cash, they go bankrupt. You can make a lot of profit and still go bankrupt because you have no more cash. And that's why you need to be very careful of managing your cash. And managing your cash means what? Means really planning when you get paid versus when you are expending and the whole bit. Stretching the payment of your suppliers because you're not getting paid on time, or because you're invoicing at a certain time but you have spent too much, and not having that cash profile really in line, and you end up in a hole for a period of time where you can't pay nobody, you can't pay the salary of people. That happened quite a bit in the movie industry and in any industry in the creation. So this is disaster when you have that. Okay, that you could lose people right in the middle of a production. You could lose vendors. You could you're gonna have delays in shipment. You're gonna have all kind of problem. Cash is king. Okay, you gotta look at your cash all the time. Make sure that you got somebody in finance or somebody really close to you that will be monitoring the cash situation, making sure you get paid on time. We're paying the people on time. We're not delaying, and we have always a buffer of security in case things are not happening as it should, and we got delayed.